What kind of faith can survive the loss of everything you've ever loved? What does a man do when the ground beneath him, his wealth, his children, his very body, crumbles into dust? And when God himself seems to have turned his face away, where does hope go to hide? Can a heart still worship when it has been shattered into 1,000 pieces? His name was Job. He lived in the land of Uz, a place of rolling hills and ancient olive groves, where the wind carried the bleating of sheep and the laughter of children. Job was not merely wealthy, he was righteous, blameless, a man who feared God and turned away from evil with the kind of conviction that shaped every decision, every word, every breath. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. 10,000 animals, servants who honored him, a legacy that seemed unshakable. But in the courts of heaven, a conversation was unfolding that would change everything. Satan stood before the throne of God, his voice dripping with accusation. "Does Job fear you for nothing?" he sneered. "You have blessed him with everything, but stretch out your hand and strike what he has, and he will curse you to your face." God allowed the test. The first messenger arrived breathless, his face pale with terror. The oxen were plowing, the donkeys grazing, and raiders came. They killed the servants. I alone escaped. Before Job could speak, another messenger came. "Fire fell from heaven. Your sheep and the shepherds are consumed." Then another. "The Chaldeans took your camels. They put the servants to the sword." And then the final blow, the one that shattered him completely. "Your children, they were feasting in your eldest son's house. A great wind came from the wilderness. The house collapsed. All of them are dead." Job stood in the silence that follows devastation, the kind of silence that screams louder than any cry. And then he tore his robe, he shaved his head, he fell to the ground, and in that moment, broken, bleeding, empty, he worshipped. "Naked I came from my mother's womb," he whispered, "and naked I shall return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." But the test was not over. Satan returned. "Skin for skin," he hissed. "Touch his body, and he will curse you." And so Job's body became a battleground. Painful sores erupted from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. His skin cracked and oozed. He sat among the ashes, scraping himself with broken pottery, his dignity stripped away. His wife looked at him with hollow eyes. "Curse God and die," she said. But Job refused. "Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" he whispered. His friends came. They sat with him in silence for 7 days, and then they spoke, but their words were daggers. "You must have sinned," they said. "God is punishing you." Job defended his integrity. He cried out to God. He wrestled with questions that had no easy answers, and God was silent. But silence is not absence. When God finally spoke, it was not with answers, but with questions. "Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth?" God's voice thundered. "Can you command the morning? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens?" Job had no words. He had demanded an audience with the Almighty, and now, in the presence of infinite majesty, all he could do was listen. "I spoke of things I did not understand," Job whispered, "things too wonderful for me. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you." And then God restored him, twice as much as before, 10 more children, a legacy that would echo through generations. But the wealth was not the point. The children were not the prize. Job had found something deeper than blessing. He had found God himself. You may not lose everything like Job did, but perhaps you've lost something that felt like everything: a person, a dream, your health, your certainty. And perhaps, like Job, you've heard voices telling you that your suffering is your fault, that God has abandoned you. But Job's story whispers this: faithfulness is not the absence of questions, it is worship in the ashes. And the God who sees you in your suffering is the same God who will one day make all things new. So the question is not whether you will face the fire. The question is, will you still bless His name when everything else is gone?